Before we jump into today's guide, I wanted to do a quick edit here at the beginning and let you guys know, yes, I did hear about the upcoming global live stream. I had predicted that this was going to happen almost down to the day in yesterday's video. I'm excited. We'll talk about it in tomorrow's video, but I need to get this guide out to you guys, so let's get to it. What's going on, you guys? Theo here with the big review, back yet again with another King of Fighters All-Star video, and today we have a very requested guide from the community, and that is going to be everything pertaining to dots in King of Fighters All-Star, what they are, the different kinds of dots in the game, why they would be useful, and we'll be breaking down all the different terminology in today's video. But for those of you who are new here, make sure that you smash that like button and subscribe if you want more daily King of Fighters content uploads. If you are subscribed and you're new here and did not see, we are doing a $25 Google Play or iOS gift card giveaway for hitting 900 subs. So if you have not already entered, make sure that you check out the link in the description. All the details on how you can get your name in the hat for that gift card will be in the description, and it will come in handy because we will be giving away that gift card next week, right in time for whatever this next collab is going to be. So if you need a little bit of Google Play or iOS fun bucks, this is the perfect way to do it. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and talk about dots. So when it comes to dots, I get a lot of comments and a lot of questions on Discord from people on what dots are, because you hear them talked about quite a bit in the community, and dots are very important in King of Fighters All-Star in general. When it comes to dots, and we're going to define all the different terminologies when it comes to these terms, but when it comes to dots in King of Fighters All-Star, they are very important because certain content in the game is locked behind you having characters built up strong enough in order to get through specific modes that call for them. So when you think about dots, you immediately think about your modes such as your Immortal Dungeons or your Guild Raid Dungeons, modes where you are going to see a lot of Ruby yields or your R-Stones yielded, because those are also very, very important in this game. So when it comes to specific types of currency, if you want to put it that way, they are going to be locked behind your ability to go ahead and upgrade your characters that are going to have these different dot effects. So you definitely want to make sure that you pay attention to these sorts of things whenever you're looking into investing in a character. So I figured that with that all being said, with the amount of modes in the game that require them and that they're important in, we would go ahead and do this guide to help you guys out. So let's go ahead and first define what dots are. So dot is going to be damage over time, and basically damage over time, or dots, are simply put debuffs applied to an opponent or opponents that does damage over the time of its duration based upon varying percentages and multipliers depending on the skills in question. So basically, dots are going to do damage over time, and the source of their damage as far as the multipliers and the percentages they're using to deal that damage are going to vary wildly depending on the character in question. So always pay attention to the duration and the percentages that are being used with those on that character. Current dots in King of Fighters All-Star that we have right now, you're going to have Burn, Shock, Poison, Bleed, Starlight, Chill, and Darkness. Now this does not count the Tier 2 dots that we will talk about momentarily, but when it comes to these, there are 7 current dots in King of Fighters All-Star, and they're going to depend on what character you're looking at as far as who is going to have what. If you are looking for a comprehensive guide on all the characters with dot out there, there used to be a spreadsheet Kyo Kusanagi used to do. I don't believe it is up to date nowadays, but I'll take a look and let you guys know. Next up, we also have specific cards in the game that are going to help you out with your dot damage. So some set and option cards can deal dot damage, but they don't apply dot, meaning they deal a set amount of damage based on the respective effects as dot damage. So as you'll see here, like for instance with the Iori option card or the Serving is Miserable card, they will deal kind of burst damage as dot damage, so it'll count as dot damage. However, it does not apply the dot, so therefore you are not going to get damage over time from them. So keep keep that in mind. Now, on the other side of that coin, you can also have option or set cards that are going to increase the amount of dot damage your character is doing. So some set and option cards can also increase dot damage by amounts and under conditions specific to the cards. So basically, as you'll see here, this is a couple of examples of cards that are going to increase your dot damage. So make sure you pay attention to the differing effects on these cards. And unfortunately, a lot of the best set cards right now for this are going to be Collab cards that are no longer available, but your mileage may vary. Now, next up, R-stones do come into play when it comes to dots as well. Some R-stones are going to give you help with your dot damage under specific conditions, and specifically they will help if you have the character in their current awakening rotation. They will buff the damage overall, as you'll see on screen. So one thing that a lot of people have debated, and honestly these stones for dot damage are always nice paired to their best character for that dot. However, it's also a situation where some of them don't make sense and you'll be better off just applying an R-stone that gives you double attack for most characters. However, keep in mind that these effects do stack. There has been debate in the past on this, but that has been proven by many top players. So, next up, talking about Tier 2 dots, which are the most important part. Tier 2 dots are variants of normal dot effects that instead of just dealing dot damage over time, they're also going to apply secondary effects. So basically, depending on what the Tier 2 dot in question is, it is going to apply the Tier 1 dot version of itself, but then it's also going to have a secondary effect that is going to give you some benefits and really work to your opponent's detriment. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and break all those down now and talk about them in order. So the first one you will see is going to be bleed and bloodshed. So basically what you are going to see here is this is going to apply bleed, and then the bloodshed aspect is going to decrease HP recovery by 80%. So this is probably one of the oldest Tier 2 dots in the game. There are quite a few characters that have this. As you'll see here, Halmaru has it, and it is a very nice debuff. However, it has kind of gotten outdated at this point as less and less characters with HP recovery become important. So next up, you're going to have burn with Infernal Flame. So this is actually one of the more popular ones, especially in PvP, but it's also very useful in PvE. It's also going to give you burn, but then it's going to decrease critical rate by 80% and defense by 30%. So it's going to give you quite a bit of shred. It's also going to help out your sustainability by decreasing the opponent's critical rate by 80%, which is a huge amount. So overall, very, very nice when it comes to Infernal Flame. Next up, you are going to have Chill and Cold Spell. So with Chill and Cold Spell, Chill is going to be applied, but then you are also going to get a decrease to the attack speed and movement speed of the opponent by 10%. So it basically says it all in the name. Now this is a good point to bring up here. CC effects, meaning crowd control effects such as freeze, stun, and petrify, will not be covered in this video because they are not dots. Those are CC effects, but Chill is completely different. It is a dot. So next up, we are going to have Poison and Venom. So basically, this is one of the rarer ones. You don't see this one as much, but you are going to apply Poison, but also decrease the power charge rate of the opponent by 80%. This is a very powerful secondary dot effect. You don't see it on a whole lot of characters, unfortunately. However, if you did, I would see those characters being mostly viable in PvP, where this decrease to the power charge rate by 80% would be the most useful. But your mileage may vary yet again. Now, probably arguably the best of the Tier 2 dots is going to be Lightning. So you deal shock damage, but you're also increasing your active skill cooldowns of your opponent by 2 seconds, which is very, very crippling in PvP. Basically what this is going to do, and you guys have seen it with the lament of Lollychang after her buffs getting lightning, increasing your opponent's active skill cooldowns by 2 seconds is a huge pain and is very, very devastating. So lightning is a very nice skill to have. Next up, we have the newest Tier 2 dot, which is going to be Radiant Damage. So it's going to deal Starlight, plus it's going to increase damage received by the opponent by 15%. So this one is basically going to allow you to do more damage over time. So this one is very beneficial in PvE and PvP, and this one is part of what makes this new Athena so good at things like Immortals. Overall, a very, very nice tier 2 dot. It's just unfortunate that we don't have more characters that have it right now. Speaking of a rare tier 2 dot, we also have Blackout. So you are going to deal darkness, but then you're also going to decrease the power of the opponent by 2%. So this is another one that is going to be more PvP centric. However, this is a very nice skill if your character has it available to them, which unfortunately most characters these days do not. So down the road, I'm sure we'll see this implemented more and more as time goes on and more characters are released. But very nice secondary tier 2 dot, and that does it for the tier 2s. So let's talk about dot explosion. So dot explosion is any effect that would remove a dot from the enemy in exchange for doing a set amount of damage based upon the percentages and multipliers associated with each individual dot explosion based skill or core. So they're kind of the same way as dots work as far as having differing sources of multipliers and percentages based on whatever character is going to be wielding them. Dot explosion is the same, so you'll just need to pay attention whatever character you have that you're using for this. Pay attention to what those multipliers are. But this is an example here using Eileen. You'll see on her final core, Vodina's Empress, she is going to deal 2.3 times of the target's remaining shock damage and remove shock upon landing a critical hit on a cooldown of 12 seconds. So basically what is going to happen here is you are going to, once you land a critical hit, remove the shock that is on the opponent and deal all the remaining damage at a 2.3 time multiplier to them as shock damage on a cooldown of 12 seconds. So this is a very, very nice thing to have. Actually, certain immortals call for it because you'll do extra damage to them over time if you are using this. So explosion in general is very nice to have. Pay attention. There are a ton of characters out there that have explosion, and it is important to make sure that you can identify which characters you have on your roster that are going to be able to use this. So in summary, dots are a very important part of King of Fighters All-Star. There are a ton of characters in the game that are going to have dots on their kits. Right now, unfortunately, as I briefly alluded to, there is not a comprehensive list for characters that have dots. However, I will be hopefully putting together a spreadsheet that I can link to all of you guys later on that will have a comprehensive list of these characters and the dots that they have, so stay tuned for that. But I hope you guys found this beneficial and found this guide informative. I know I've gotten a ton of requests and a ton of questions about dots in the past, so hopefully this cleared up all the confusion and any questions you guys might have had. If you have further questions, you can leave them in the comment section down below. But for those of you who are new here, make sure, if you haven't already done so, smash that like button and subscribe. That's going to be it for today's video. I appreciate all of you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. You all take care. Peace.
Continue.